Good morning. My name's Tony and Brenda, Public Information Officer, Los Angeles County Fire Department. I'd like to welcome you all to the Woolsey Fire update this morning. As you can see, we have another Santa Ana wind condition that's moved into the area overnight. We had a chance for a little bit of recovery the night before. Firefighters were able to make a little progress out there on the fire line and reinforce some of our containment lines, start bringing up our containment numbers to around 10%. But of course, this morning, Santa Ana wind condition has reestablished itself and is going to be in the area for the next couple of days, hopefully starting to mitigate on Tuesday evening. We're going to start with some of our unified command partners this morning to talk about some of the latest updates out there in the operational area, give you some of the latest information that we have. I'm going to start off with the Chief, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, John Benedict.
Well, good morning. As you all can see, we have the winds have returned, and we're expecting this wind event to go through at least Tuesday. I personally want to thank everybody that has heeded the evacuations that we've put and set forth through the course of this wind event. I can tell you that we are still in evacuation mode. The cities of Hidden Hills, Westlake Village, Agoura, Calabasas, and Malibu are still under evacuation. We understand and realize this is a stressful time for everyone, and we share in the concerns for your safety, the safety of your pets and your property. I can tell you as of now we have over 200 LASD personnel out in the field securing the property, looking for those folks that would take advantage of those people that have left their homes as far as looting. We also have mutual aid out and about with us as well, so there are other agencies that are participating with us, other law enforcement agencies. I can also tell you that we greatly appreciate the patience and the cooperation that we've had with our community. It's an effort, but it's a joint effort. It's a partnership that we share with our community. We work very well together, and that's the only way we can get things done. This is a wind-driven event, and the winds are coming back, as we just said. So everybody needs to remain vigilant still, and please stay out of the areas that we've determined to be evacuation zones. I want to stress for the Topanga area right now, for those that remain in the Topanga area, we urge you to evacuate and allow our fire and law enforcement partners to move into the area and protect the homes and property. We realize that some folks are still in that Topanga area, and we just want to make sure that they understand that this is the time to leave at this point. We have reports of numerous residents in the Topanga area that have chosen to shelter in place, and we're advising them to immediately leave and move to one of the shelters or to other locations out of danger. We're working in partnership also with animal control. Animal control has been up in the various areas moving some of the larger animals, and so I know that people are concerned about their animals, but animal control is up there working diligently to get some of the larger animals and even some of the smaller animals out of harm's way. Again, for information on the Woolsey Fire, please contact or please go to www.lacounty.gov/Woolsey Fire. And again, for 911 for emergencies and 211 for information. I also just want to share with you, I personally have been affected by this as well. I've been evacuated twice. So I totally understand just the heartache and the stress that's involved in the evacuation process and trying to get back to your homes. It's a process. It's going to take some time, so please be patient with us. And we're just concerned for the safety of yourselves, the safety of the first responders, and all the folks that are out there trying to get you safely back to your homes and safely back reunited with your families. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I just want to reiterate what the Chief was saying. Paying attention to evacuation orders is critical at this time. I want to bring up next from Ventura County Sheriff's Department, Eric Bouchot.
Thank you, Captain. Good morning. For areas impacted within Ventura County, we have lifted some of the evacuation orders. Most of those areas were affected by the Hill Fire and encompass Camarillo Springs, parts of Newbury Park, Dos Vientos, and some of those areas. We are working on repopulation efforts for some of the other areas in around Thousand Oaks that were impacted by the fire. We ask that people be patient. Just as the chief said, I also had to evacuate with my family, and it's difficult, it's frustrating. We're working diligently to determine when and where it's safe to allow people back in. We currently have 75 personnel out patrolling areas impacted in Ventura County. They are actively looking for looting activity and trying to maintain public safety in those areas. We ask for those who have stayed behind and are still in their residence to be vigilant and call us if they see any suspicious activity. 2 days ago, we did have some looting activity. We made some arrests. We were made aware of a couple of incidents of suspicious activity yesterday as well. So we will be out there. We take a zero tolerance stance to any criminal activity in this disaster area, and we will take people to jail if that's what it takes. So again, we ask for your patience. For the latest information on evacuation areas, repopulation areas, and impacts to Ventura County, we ask that you go to vcemergency.com for the up-to-date information. That's being updated continuously 24/7. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Next, I'd like to invite up from Ventura County Fire Department, Chief Mark Lorenzen.
Good morning. It was interesting, on my way over here, I stopped by a house of a retired firefighter. And while his house was safe, what was mostly interesting was that in his front yard, the ice plant was burning. There was no wind on it. Ice plant is not supposed to burn. So my message to the community today is, maybe 10 or 20 years ago, you stayed in your homes when there was a fire and you were able to protect them. Governor Brown said it last year during the Thomas Fire that we're entering a new normal. Things are not the way they were 10 years ago. You look at the fires in Napa last year, the Thomas Fire, the fire in Butte County right now. In this fire, the rate of spread is exponentially more than it used to be. Please heed evacuation warnings. Do not stay in your homes to try and defend them. Please leave that to us. Please do not put your lives at risk. We want to be able to go in and protect your homes. We do not want to have to go in to protect lives, but we will. Please heed all of the public safety officials out there and listen. And when we ask you to leave, please leave.
Next up from the Los Angeles Fire Department, Deputy Chief Trevor Richmond.
Good morning. On behalf of Mayor Eric Garcetti, Fire Chief Ralph Terrazas, thank you again for being here today. The LAFD still maintains a significant presence on this incident. Most of our resources are located along the eastern flank of this fire, primarily in the LA City area. Mandatory evacuations will continue for the Bell Canyon area, as well as the city property adjacent to Hidden Hills, currently under mandatory evacuation. Evacuation orders will be reviewed and analyzed approximately 3 p.m. this afternoon. I also want to communicate that within the city of Los Angeles, the red flag no parking ordinance has been enacted. If you live in an area in the city of Los Angeles where your streets have been posted, no parking during red flag, please remove your vehicles from the streets. If you don't remove them, they will be towed. Throughout the duration of this event, the Los Angeles Fire Department has committed resources and is actively engaged in protecting the communities in LA City and Bell Canyon, and we will continue to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next up, to talk a little bit about our road closures from the California Highway Patrol, Lieutenant Kevin Kirker.
Good morning, everybody. So I just came from a repopulation meeting at the main command post over at Camarillo Airport. The California Highway Patrol is working diligently around the clock to try to get the 101 corridor open. We are working in the final stages of that right now. We are hoping to get that open by midday, but I want to stress the main artery is what we're looking at getting open. So eastbound and westbound we're looking at opening, but the off-ramps westbound that we are going to be closing are Valley Circle, Parkway Calabasas, Las Virgenes Road, Lost Hills Road, Liberty Canyon Road, Canaan Road, and Reyes Adobe. Now on the eastbound side, the off-ramps that are going to be closed will be Reyes Adobe, Canaan Road, Liberty Canyon, Lost Hills, Lost Virgenes, Parkway Calabasas, and the Mulholland Valley Circle off-ramps. Now in regards to reopening the freeway, I would like to stress also that when we open it, that the motoring public be cognizant of emergency equipment. We're still going to be having emergency equipment, fire trucks, going up and down the freeways. Currently, we still have the PCH closed, entering southbound and preventing traffic from going northbound at Sunset and up by Las Posas by the Ventura County line. Also with repopulation, the safety's paramount. Once these areas start to get open, please be cognizant of how you're driving. If anything does take place as far as the winds, if down power lines, rock debris, a lot of these places and a lot of the residents reside in canyon areas, so any rocks that may be falling onto the area, just contact the local authorities to notify, and we'll get crews out there as soon as we feasibly can to clear the roadway. If there are any down power lines, please stay away from those. Treat any down power line as though it's live. Additionally, for those of you who have chosen to shelter in place and have chosen not to evacuate, and you leave a closure, just know that if you leave a closure or a mandatory evacuation area, that you will not be allowed back in. We've had, unfortunately, residents that feel that they can leave and attend to some personal needs, which we totally understand, especially during these times. But unfortunately, due to safety, they are not allowed back into the mandatory evacuation zone. So please be cognizant of that. The general safety has been paramount of everybody represented behind me. All law enforcement, all fire, all medical, safety has been paramount during this operation. The collaborative effort, the collaborative trust, the unity with all the allied agencies, our elected officials, the support that we're getting is unparalleled and greatly appreciated as it helps to support us to accomplish this mission. And finally, I would just like to acknowledge, on a personal note, we've had several officers displaced from their homes. Several fire have been displaced from their homes. And they are still out there working diligently for the safety and the interest of the public. I can't stress enough, just from myself personally and the California Highway Patrol and everybody represented behind me, that we truly care about the public. We're trying to get them back to their homes. We are the faces of the true heroes out there on the front lines. And we appreciate the media for pushing out this very important message and being patient with us, and the cooperation that you've had with us, as well as the motoring public has been very understanding. Thank you.
Next up from our Unified Incident Command, I'd like to bring up CAL FIRE Chief Scott Jalbert.
Good morning. This week, California's experienced the most destructive fires than we've seen in its history, with over 196,000 acres burned, thousands of homes, and dozens of lives lost. Today, as you've seen, we're starting to see another series of Santa Ana winds that are going to start blowing here and working their way south towards San Diego. And this has us very concerned. We need to make sure that all citizens are vigilant to making sure that they do nothing to start a new fire. Today, we have over 8,000 federal, state, and local firefighters on the front lines, with thousands on the ready, prepared for the next event. We've received 100% support from the governor's office and the elected officials. And I'd like to take a moment and say thank you to Senator Stern and all the other elected officials for being here and for their support. With that, I'd like to leave you with one final message. Everyone here, all state, federal, and local agencies are doing everything they can to deal with these fires. Sadly, with these winds, it's not over yet. So please be careful. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next up, from our fire branch of the Unified Command, Los Angeles County Fire Chief Daryl Osby.
Thank you. Good morning. Daryl Osby, LA County Fire Department. And once again, on behalf of our Honorable Supervisor Q in the 3rd District, thank her for her leadership and support for this incident. It was probably already mentioned, but I'll just go over this real quickly again as it relates to the current status. We're at 83,275 acres on the incident, and we have 10% containment, over 3,000 personnel on the fire. Last night, our firefighters worked all night in relation to trying to put out hot spots, trying to get additional line containment, and they did the best they could from that perspective. We're truly concerned today. As we stand here right now, you can see that the winds have already began, and we're expecting them to peak at over 40 miles per hour, and they're going to burn for the next, they're going to blow for the next 3 days. So our concerns are this, is that I articulated that we had 10% containment, which means we have 90% open line in this incident, and we have a lot of hot spots within the incident and the fire. So our concerns are that when you look east of us, we still have a lot of open line, that there's a lot of fuel that has not burned, that we're concerned about the fire jumping out and coming behind us and burning parts of this area that have not burned. We have a lot of territory within west of the 101 freeway and some of the cities all the way through the ocean in Malibu where parts of the fire have not burned. We're concerned about hot spots coming out and losing more brush and more structures. For those of you that elected not to evacuate, that's been mentioned numerous times to evacuate. I can't emphasize that enough. There's numerous examples of people not evacuating other fires where they've died. I can't imagine being asked to leave my home, but I'm just emphasizing the point as it relates to your safety. Your home can be rebuilt, but we can't save your lives. You can't bring your life back. To allow our firefighters to do all that they can. Our other main concern, it was mentioned earlier about Topanga Canyon on the south side of the incident, and the fires could burn through Malibu Canyon, but on the south side of Malibu that's not burned. Topanga Canyon is not burned. The south of that is Pacific Palisades is not burned, but we're concerned about those areas also, that we're doing all that we can to do to contain the fire north of those communities. But if you live in those communities, be vigilant, be aware that if you see smoke, you see flames coming your way, don't wait for an evacuation to evacuate. In conclusion, I will say this. We've lost a lot of structures on this incident, and we're truly saddened by the people that have lost their homes, and a lot of valuables lost and a lot of memories lost. But I'm also very thankful for the firefighters from my department and the other firefighters from other agencies and all the first responders that have done all they could to save tens of thousands of people's lives and thousands upon thousands of homes that were saved because of their valiant efforts. And they will remain out there in the front lines until this fire is put out. Thank you very much for your cooperation.
Thank you, Chief. Before we rotate some of our dignitaries through to address you all, I just wanted to reiterate how important it is to heed these evacuation orders with a wind-driven fire like this. very high level of danger. You can go to the Sheriff's Department Twitter feed for most recent evacuation orders at LASD HQ. You can also get most recent fire information from the LA County Fire Department PIO Twitter feed at LA County Fire PIO. And I'd like to encourage everybody to go to our website, fire.lacounty.gov/RSG, which stands for Ready, Set, Go. It's a detailed wildfire evacuation plan. You can get a lot of tips on how to prepare and be ready as the fire approaches. Don't wait until the last minute to evacuate. It impedes our ability as an agency to move in and employ the tactics we want to employ if we have people trying to evacuate the area right when fire apparatus are arriving. Thank you. Next, I'd like to bring up Congressman Ted Lieu.
Good morning. Let me first start by thanking our amazing first responders for the extraordinary job they have done and continue to do under these difficult, windy conditions. Earlier this week, Congress members Julia Brownlee, Brad Sherman, and I sent letters to FEMA asking for federal funding for this disaster. I'm pleased that FEMA has agreed to do so. Because these fires are largely still uncontained, those of you who are in mandatory evacuation areas need to leave now. I love my residents in Topanga Canyon. You have beautiful places, but you need to leave. In addition, make sure that when you go to these shelters, you bring your important documents if you have them. I visited Palisades Charter High School shelter yesterday. It's clean, it's well stocked. The American Red Cross is doing an amazing job. Much better for you to be at a shelter than to potentially lose your life. And finally, let me say, when this disaster is over, if anyone needs assistance with a FEMA claim, or if you've lost your Social Security check, or any other assistance with a federal agency, contact Congress members Sherman, Brownlee, or I, and we will help you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up from the state of California, Assembly Member Jesse Gabriel.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Wanted to begin just by thanking the firefighters and law enforcement and the first responders for their extraordinary efforts. I had a chance to go out with the firefighters yesterday and visit some of the areas that have been affected, and it is difficult to overstate their commitment and professionalism and bravery. I saw multiple homes and businesses in Calabasas and Hidden Hills that were saved by their quick and excellent work. So on behalf of all the folks in the West Valley and the state of California, we are very, very grateful for everything they're doing. Wanted again to underscore how important it is to heed evacuation orders and to listen to the firefighters and law enforcement and the first responders. When I was out there yesterday, there are numerous serious hazards that are not evident to regular folks, that are only evident to professionals, whether it's down power lines, hot spots that can reignite very quickly with the wind, trees that are burned on the inside that are at risk of falling over and causing serious harms. If you are under mandatory evacuation, please evacuate, please stay away. I know folks are anxious to get home. My parents have been evacuated. I know they are anxious to get home as well. But there are real dangers out there that are not evident to ordinary folks. Also wanted to let people know that Senator Stern and I are having a town hall this evening at 5 p.m. at Taft High School in Woodland Hills. Again, that's 5 p.m. at Taft Charter High School in Woodland Hills. Be an opportunity for members of the public to ask questions, to get information, to connect with resources. And I did want to assure everybody in the public that Senator Stern and I and all of the local and state and federal elected officials are committed to working together through this incident and when it's over to help folks rebuild, to help folks get the resources that they need. We will be here for them. But again, just really wanted to underscore, please, please listen to the evacuation orders and the firefighters and thank them for their incredible bravery and heroism. They have done incredible work for our community, and we all owe them a debt of gratitude.
Next up, from Ventura County, 2nd District, Supervisor Linda Parks.
Good morning. We've had a rough 3 days here in the Thousand Oaks area in my district, from Bell Canyon all the way out to Malibu. And the cities that are surrounding this fire are going under a lot of evacuations. We want to make sure that you pay attention to them. I'm personally under mandatory evacuation also. and we have to do what we can to assist our firefighters, and one of those is actually by making sure that you evacuate. I also wanted to thank the President for the declaration of emergency. We had a very tragic shooting, and the FBI have been phenomenal. They've come to our support. They're assisting with our crime scene. They're assisting with the victims and their families, and I want to thank the federal government for that. We also want to make sure that we do get a declaration of major disaster, because we know that will bring us funds to do relief efforts. The cities of Westlake Village and Hidden Hills and Calabasas and Malibu, Thousand Oaks, we are all very much in need of all the support the federal government can give us. Appreciate tremendously what we have received. Thanking also the first responders and the state of California. Ventura County had the Thomas Fire. We survived. We became stronger. We are resilient, and we will continue to be strong and resilient. For those who lost their homes, we grieve for you. This is a hard time for everyone, and I'm glad to see the tremendous support we're getting. Thank you all very much.
Next up from the 3rd District, Supervisor Kelly Long.
Good morning, Kelly Long, Ventura County Supervisor. They've asked me today to talk about recovery. Every time we go through this, people think they've been forgotten, and we have not forgotten you for the recovery aspect. On day 2, we created a disaster recovery team for Ventura County. We're in communication with Los Angeles County and other cities to share our knowledge of going through this type of disaster. The Governor Brown has, based on the Stanford Act, requested a master disaster declaration. What that will help us do is debris removal, public and individual assistance for those who need it. So we are requesting that also from the President. Again, people need to be safe. We have our utilities trying to get out and repair internet, gas, electric for all those who have lost it. We will get that up as soon as possible. We do not want anyone in harm's way. You've been given vcemergency.com and also the Los Angeles feeds to make sure you're up to date on the latest information. We are repopulating in certain areas, but there is heavy wind till Tuesday. Please think, make sure you're safe. Anytime you're going to leave your house, take your medication. That's one thing that we're hearing about, is making sure you take your medication with you. So with that, I'd like to thank all the volunteers and nonprofits, individuals who've helped, just trying to help with this, but please stay out of the areas and we will get this recovery as quick as possible. Thank you.
Next up, I'd like to have from the City of Malibu City Council, Skylar Peak.
Sure that you guys can see that the wind has picked up here very severely right now. My community has been greatly devastated. We've lost, in my immediate community in the Point Dume area, I confirmed over approximately 50 homes yesterday. Malibu is a large coastal city with people that are very vigilant. It's a very tight-knit community, although it's spread out. A lot of people remain on the ground there, and I urge you to leave the area if you're not prepared to deal with the major wind event that's going on immediately. The power is out to over half of the city. There remains to be no cell communications, and we are working on securing power generation to pump the water to the water tanks up the hills. I'd like to thank every member of the first responders and the thousands of them that are currently working in the Santa Monica Mountains all the way down to the coastline. This is the most destructive and devastating fire that I've witnessed since the 1993 fires, and when this is all said and done, I imagine it'll be far more severe, very similar to the fire that was in the early 80s that started in the Bell Canyon area and proceeded to go to the Pacific Ocean. It is my understanding that to the hundreds of people in our community that have lost your homes, we're going to do everything to get you back there once it is safe. The immediate fire danger will be in place for days, and I just want to urge you to be safe, seek shelter in an area where the air is breathable, and be prepared to be away from your homes for some amount of time. Please know that we are going to work with our resources in the LA County Sheriff's Department and all of the other agencies that are coming to support us in California, Nevada, Arizona, and elsewhere in the nation. We thank you, we're grateful, and it just makes my heart wrench to see the loss that has hit our community. One of our council members' homes burned down. He remains in the ICU at Santa Monica Hospital. His name is Jefferson Zuma J. Wagner, and I do hope that he's going to be okay. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to ask the mayor of Calabasas up, Mr. Fred Gaines.
Good morning. My name is Fred Gaines, Mayor of the City of Calabasas. I'm joined this morning by my City Council colleagues, Mayor Pro Tem David Shapiro, Councilwoman Alicia Weintraub. The Woolsey Fire is the worst fire emergency in the history of the City of Calabasas. We have lost 9 single-family homes. We've had 2 commercial buildings significantly damaged, dozens of other buildings, residential and commercial, with other levels of damage. The danger in our city still persists. Vast majority of our city is under mandatory evacuation. Mandatory evacuation in the following areas of the City of Calabasas. All areas of the city north of the 101 freeway. All areas of the city west of Las Virgenes Road. All areas of the city west of Las Virgenes Road. All areas, all residential homes accessible off Parkway Calabasas are still under mandatory evacuation. And we also have an area in the upper area of our Mulholland Heights neighborhood under mandatory evacuation. If you have any questions whatsoever about whether or not you are under mandatory evacuation, you can go to the city website at www.cityofcalabasas.com. But those areas are now secured by law enforcement. You will not be allowed to return. I know how inconvenient and uncomfortable this is. But let me tell you, as these winds pick up, the 9 homes that we lost were not on the first run of the fire. They were all on flare-ups after the initial run had been knocked down, and the winds picked up just as they're picking up right now. And as we left the city this morning to come here, there were still hot spots, there were still smoldering spots. You add this wind to it, and within a very short time, the areas that look to you as being safe, look to you like you could return, are unsafe. And that is why those mandatory evacuations are still in effect, and they will not be lifted until the emergency management people you see behind me say that it's safe to return. All non-emergency services in the City of Calabasas are canceled until further notice. That's our preschool, all of our park services, our senior center, our library. Those are all closed until further notice. The Las Virgenes Unified School District has announced closure tomorrow, of course, for the holiday, and on Tuesday, for sure, they are closed. Las Virgenes Municipal Water District has issued a warning on water. It is important that those who are still in the city use water sparsely, no irrigation, and if there's any issue regarding cloudiness or smell with the water, please go to Las Virgenes Municipal Water District website for instructions on dealing with the water. We have large areas of our city without electricity, and without spectrum, cable, telephone, Wi-Fi service. Just this morning coming here, we saw numerous power poles burnt down throughout the city. They are working on that, but it could be a while, perhaps days, before all of that service is restored. Please cooperate with the mandatory evacuation orders, and we will get notice out that it is safe to come back as soon as we possibly can. We're very thankful, of course, to all the first responders. Today is Veterans Day. Many of them are veterans, and it's a heck of a way for them to spend the day and for us to show our appreciation, but we are with them. And if you'll let me tell one quick heartwarming story, our Calabasas High School football team played a playoff game last night in San Juan Capistrano, and they and the fans were greeted with banners that are hearts out to Calabasas. The students and fans at that game brought cases of water and food to bring back to Calabasas, and their thoughtfulness, their humanity, the class they showed was really amazing. And those words and kind deeds are coming in from all over, and we appreciate it. The best thing you can do is contact the Red Cross, who is running our evacuation centers. And if you have donations that you want to make, you want to give them to the Red Cross. Thank you very much.
Okay, last up from the city of Agoura Hills, Elise Buckley Weber.
Good morning. I just want to tell the people of the city of Agoura Hills, please, please do not come back to our city yet. It is not safe. We are standing here with gusts of wind. Yesterday, when I went and did the assessment around the city of Agoura Hills, I personally saw flare-ups where we had to bring in, report these flare-ups on Agoura Road in Old Agoura. So it's not safe to come back. We will let you know as soon as it is. The schools are closed. I agree with Mayor Gaines. I don't need to repeat it, but if non-emergency facilities are closed, the city is watching this closely, and we will be in touch as soon as we can to let you know. Just follow our website, follow our Twitter, and we will let you know. But again, I know you all want to come home. I'm under evacuation as well. The first responders did an amazing job in the city of Agoura Hills. I can't tell you what a great job. You will all see it when you get back. But homes on Eagleton, the hills, the fire came right up to the back doors, but the homes were saved. So thank you, be safe, and we will let you know as soon as we can when you can come home. Thank you.
Next up, for you folks to be able to ask some questions about what's happening with the fire, I'm going to bring up the fire branch of the Unified Command here. We have Deputy Chief Richmond, Chief Lorenzen, Chief Jalbert, and Chief Osby. They're going to take questions from you.
Gentlemen, right off the bat, while this has been going on, you've got a hell of a loop up going there, and this fire is running. Based on what you know of the fuel and the path of this wind, what are the greatest number of homes in danger in what communities from the direction this fire is moving?
Well, to give you a general statement to your question is that we've burned over 83,000 acres. So everything within the footprint that has not burned, we're concerned about. So we have unburned structures in the footprint. We have unburned brush in the footprint that has the possibility with embers and hot spots to burn. So we're concerned about embers creating additional fires within the footprint of the fire. As I mentioned earlier, that we only have 10% containment around the entire fire. So we're not concerned about one specific point as it relates to this fire escaping our containment, as we're concerned about the entire incident from the east side, south. The only thing that we're not concerned about is where it hit the ocean. So other than that, we're extremely concerned. We've asked our citizens to evacuate. We have all available firefighters out there on all perimeters and all unburned areas of this fire trying to protect the structures and put the fire out.
Maybe I should clarify it. Are we talking about the possibility of this fire going south and west along the coast of Malibu, south of Pepperdine, given these winds? Will it turn the corner and head south?
That's the possibility, but we're doing all that we can to stop it from going that direction.
Do you have the assets to do it? Either bulldozers, camp crews, both?
We have all of the available bulldozers, aircraft, and firefighters throughout the incident trying to keep it from going that direction.
Do you know anything about this flare-up in Chatsworth that's going on right now?
can speak to that.
Okay, yes.
So I had to step out for a moment. I was just informed that this is a flare-up on the existing east flank of this fire. This is not a separate incident. It's a flare-up, and we have companies on scene fighting the fire as we speak.
Right now, we know that we have over 170 structures that were lost. We have our damage assessment teams that have been out counting since yesterday, and we're confident that number will rise. Once we get a specific number to you, we'll be able to give that to you, but we're giving you updates as we receive them. That's being investigated by the Sheriff's Department and the coroner, so once that information is available, they'll release it. I think that if you live in California, it's evident that we're definitely in climate change right now. 6 out of the last 7 years we've been in a drought. So the fuels in this region are extremely crisp and dry. We've just experienced the hottest summer on record. And after that hot summer, we're in the sand and wind-driven part of the fire season right now. And as an example of this fire, it's evident of that. Additionally, as it relates to climate change, we were challenged as it relates to mutual aid resources. But the fact of the matter is when you look at the state of California that was mentioned earlier by my counterpart from Cal Fire, this climate challenge is statewide. Typically this time of the year, when we get fires in Southern California, we can rely upon our mutual aid partners in Northern California to come assist us because this time of the year, they've already had significant rainfall or even snow. And as evident by the campfire? Yes. Yeah, the campfire in Northern California, which is larger than this, more structures have been lost than this, more lives have been lost. It's evident that from that situation statewide that we're in a climate change and it's going to be here for the foreseeable future. Anything else you want to say? She said the Canucks.
The Canucks? The Chinooks, you mean? The helicopters with...
The Quebecs.
Oh, the Quebecs. Yes. So 2 of those have been requested. I know the LA County has those on contract as well. The state has activated the National Guard to utilize 2 C-130 aircraft. We've also statewide have activated what we call very large air tankers, which would be like the DC-10, the 747. On top of that, we've also activated large air tankers, which have the capacity of dropping 3,000 gallons of retardant. We just refer to those as large air tankers. So there's numerous platforms that we use out there, but we reached out, hired them on contract. We used all the available large tankers that we can find in addition to the Cal Fire S2 platforms.
Yes. In our briefing earlier, we said that in the Woolsey Fire that we have 10% containment. With the conditions that we're expecting today through Tuesday, we're still in extreme fire conditions. We have winds that, as you can see right now, that are blowing. At the peak, they'll be at 40 miles per hour. So our priorities are in order. It's number one is life, if there's people still within the perimeter of the fire, and then structure protection. And we've been so limited with resources until today, we've been unable to put a lot of effort toward containment, but we're going to try to do all 3 at the same time today: life protection, structure protection, and containment. Our concerns are, as I mentioned earlier, is we have a lot of unburned fuel within the footprint of the fire. So with the embers, that can still start structures that haven't burned or brush that hasn't burned. And we're also concerned about the wind blowing sparks or embers beyond our containment lines moving in all directions of the fire.
Chief, elaborate on some information about the tactics of reason.
Huh?
Elaborate
Any
on
further
some
questions?
tactics.
Go ahead.
I can elaborate a little bit. So yesterday we saw a low in the weather, which is pretty much the first time that we've able to focus a lot of effort on containment of the fire. Prior to that, the efforts were primarily focused on evacuations, rescue, and structured defense. So yesterday, crews made a lot of good progress on the fire, being able to put some containment lines in. The temperatures were very low. The relative humidities came up and the winds died down. So they took as much advantage of that they could with those situations. Keep in mind with these winds, 30 to 40 miles an hour, it's going to cause a lot of problems. So you saw earlier this morning, we saw the big heavy airplanes dropping retardant. Yesterday evening when the wind started to calm down, we dropped a lot of retardant to support those lines. One thing to keep in mind with these winds is as these winds progress and they get into the 30 and 40 mile per hour ranges, the fixed wing and rotary wing aircraft become less effective. You know, you can imagine dropping a cup of water with these winds and the liquids go all over the place. So with that, the winds are going to hamper air operations today, and they will do the best they can to get in there and reinforce those lines.
Yes, still are two.
Okay, folks, we'd like to let our command get back to what they're doing
Thank you.
here.
Appreciate it.
Busy day this afternoon. We appreciate y'all attending. And I just want to re-emphasize one more time for everybody, for the most current incident information, go to @LASD HQ Twitter feed and @LA County Fire PIO. Thank you very much.